So it's been just over a week of recording a short video every single day. Welcome to part 8 of my 30-day video diary challenge. Today really is a challenge because my mood has dipped over, well, it's just been, it's not crazy desperate, but it's just been kind of like a bit rubbish for a while. And there's this like strange correlation between me kind of going out and staying in and how that affects my mood. I may have mentioned this before, but I've been sober for a couple of years. Never had a drink problem. I just wanted to kind of get to know what I was like without alcohol. And yeah, it's been very educational. I've had some pretty wild times. I've had one of the wildest nights of my entire life. Like on a stag do last year, like streaking through Prague in my underwear, like completely stone cold sober. But I don't know. I may talk about this in another video. When you're sober, it is possible to kind of prompt yourself to be in that crazy state, that like drunken state without alcohol. It is possible. It just does. It requires a bit of skill. That's all. And it definitely helps when you've got the rest of your life in check, which is something I don't really feel I have at the moment. Giving myself some credit, I am being careful in terms of what I put myself into. You know, I'm possibly being too careful. You know, it could benefit me just to go into just do any job, just some kind of job, because I know that, as I think it's pretty obvious for me, that having the structure of a job does help me kind of maintain good, healthy, stable mood. And yeah. At the same time, I'd like to do work that I believe is going to be fulfilling for me. Had a really great chat with one of the girls that works at a wonderful little cafe, little independent cafe near me called Lewis's. Really great little place. It was actually the first place I kind of went to when I got to Moseley a few years ago, when a friend was showing me around. But I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm a little bit emotionally challenged. I freak out with emotions, and one of my coping strategies is when something emotional happens, I just analyze the shit out of it until I stop. You know, until the feeling has passed. But yeah, I have definitely noticed that a cause of kind of my suffering at the moment, if you were to look at my life, it's not like I've got like there's no obvious, you know, things that you can see that are happening. It's all kind of in my head, really. In fact, if you wrote it down on paper, you know, I've got a very, I want to be careful about what word I use next. I've got like a very, simple life, you know. I live in a nice, safe house. I've got most of my time to myself at the moment. I'm kind of getting by, but the effects of having less social contact as a result of a job coming to an end in the new year has been quite obvious. In fact, one of my housemates, my landlord, in fact, noticed how much that I seemed to change during, you know, the last job that I had. You know, change in terms of like, you know, he really, really did notice. And it's not like it's not like I want to change how I am so that it'll, you know, so that other people will like it better. But I think part of me does. Part of me just finds it hard to accept when my mood is kind of low partly because I'm trying to imagine how I might seem to someone else, whereas I think what I'd like to experience is more of a shift in terms of just me being genuinely sympathetic towards myself, which is something that I've rarely experienced in me. And when it happens, it's really profound. When I've been helped, when I've had help, looking at myself, looking at my past with a more kind of objective eye and with more of a compassionate, like looking back at myself in my life in the past and really feeling for that person, in a very genuine way, that's a really profound thing. And what I've been reminded of at the moment is like what I'd call like the second arrow of pain. It's almost like in life, you could go about your business and you could be anyone, and you could not avoid being hit by the first arrow of a pain of some sort. Like some painful shit is bound to just happen. It is just bound to, just by the sheer kind of odds of life. But the funny thing is, and I think this is obvious when you look at countries like developing countries, when the chances of being hit by that first arrow is so much higher. Like you go, like the infant mortality rate in certain countries within Africa or the other developed parts of the developing world, just disease rates, like dictatorships, like the fucking first arrows are flying everywhere. People are getting hit by that pain, but yet people seem to, if anything, suffer less from experiences such as depression. In fact, there's a great TED talk called, or roughly it's called something like Depression is an illness of civilization. And it's kind of looking at a comparative. There's a 2,000 person study done based on tribal communities, or you'd have to look it up to see the exact thing. But anyway, 2,000 people, and it was based in an African country, and the incidence of someone within that community having what you could call symptoms of mental health suffering or mental illness was something like one person, one individual in 2,000, and yet the first arrow, if you want to call it, of pain would be so much more likely to hit any one of those people all the time, like infant mortality, disease, kind of all kinds of hardship, and yet the mental illness aspect of things was so much less. And what I've noticed in myself is that whilst there's nothing obviously difficult about my life, in fact, I live an incredibly privileged life. I live in a safe house, with comfortable surroundings, all my amenities taken care of, fresh running water, food, like any food that I want, just I could go to the shops and buy it. My health is pretty good. My physical health is good. And yet I feel pretty bad. And I've noticed that, that being the case, that is first arrow of whatever it is that's hit me. The thing that makes it difficult is then I really judge the fuck out of myself and really regard myself as pathetic, and if anything, take much too much responsibility for the pain and for the low energy and the low mood that I'm feeling. So going back to my original point about the first arrow, it's almost like in life, the first arrows of life are unavoidable. They will hit you at some point. But then it's like this thing that we do, and we take a second arrow, we take a second arrow, we just stick it in on top of ourselves. The first arrow is already sticking in you, and you take this second arrow of judgment and you stick it in yourself. It's like this second part, like that's not necessary. Like it doesn't necessarily need to happen. And sometimes, I mean, age 30, old to some, very young to others, it does sometimes feel like I've been trying to work this out for so long, and it seems very tiring sometimes. But I have a funny feeling that if I were able to look back at the scale of the difficulties that I've encountered, just in life so far, the life that's set me up, the life that's led me to such extreme experiences of mental ill health, and perhaps I'll cover the extremes in another video at another time. But yeah, it's been pretty extreme, and I don't think I've really given myself the ability to properly connect with the pain of the past, because I've been so busy just so busy trying to move on, and to an extent that's healthy, but the fact of the matter is that if in moving on full respect was never given to what happened in the past, then you may think you're done with the past, but the past may well not be done with you. And that would make sense for me because of the experiences I'm having at the moment of anxiety and stuff, which in my mind is just like, where is this coming from? Like, I don't even, this is so random. But it's not. The anxiety that I feel now, and that feels like a sort of knotted tightness in my stomach that just pops up at the strangest moments. That's not random at all. It's stuff that's just been cooking up for many years. You know, it's just stuff that's been cooking up, and all the little times, or you know, all the yeah. Anyhow. It's a tough one, this low mood thing, because it kind of messes with your perspective. It's kind of like hard to see the positives in things when you're physically in your body feeling like, it's almost like the closest thing I can think of is almost like either, say, years ago I used to occasionally take pills or something like that, like ecstasy or something on a night out, handful of times probably, or drink. Like I used to drink, obviously, as is very common, I used to drink until I was sick most times I used to go out when I was sort of, you know, in my early 20s or 18, 19, whatever, because I had very low self-esteem, amongst other things. And the way I feel now is almost like a very mildish version of quite a bad hangover, except I haven't also got the memory of the fact that last night I had a great time. So it's almost like the hangover without that sense of enjoyment, or it's like having a hangover but without the ability to know it's because you had a good time. It's just like just the hangover without the good time. But anyway, my strategy is what I'm going to do tonight, even though I don't feel that great. I'm a musician, and I know that there's an open mic night near me, so I know that going out, if I'm playing music, at least I can look forward to the playing of the music, even if I'm not looking forward to necessarily socializing so much. So I'll let you know how that goes.